The Xbox price in the US has increased drastically for the first time since its launch in 2020, causing shock not only in the gaming industry, but also among consumers. The reason for this increase is not simply an increase in development costs, but also the shadow of international politics, the US-China trade conflict.
The world's largest software company, Microsoft, has raised the prices of its flagship game consoles, the Xbox Series X and Series S. Starting on the 1st of this month in US time, the high-end Xbox Series X model has increased from $500 to $600. And the low-end Series S has increased from $300 to $380. This is a nearly 20% increase in just 4 years since its release, and is considered an unusual measure for electronic products, such as game consoles, whose prices decrease over time. The price increase was applied not only to the US, but also to other markets, such as Europe and Australia, but the extent was much smaller than in the US. For example, the Series X in Europe was raised by €50 and in the UK by £20. Microsoft stated that the reason for the increase was market conditions and rising development costs, but avoided directly mentioning tariffs or political influence. However, industry experts say that the trade war between the US and China, especially tariffs on Chinese consoles, played a decisive role in the background. Matt Piscatella and Daniel Ahmad, analysts at market research firms Circana and Nico Partners, pointed out that the US government recently imposed a whopping 145% tariff on game consoles manufactured in China, and analyzed that this increase is expected and will continue to happen. Most Xboxes are manufactured in Chinese factories. And similarly, when the Trump administration began to impose tariffs in 2019, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony submitted a joint letter to the Office of the United States Trade Representative USTR. The letter warned that 96% of consoles imported into the US are made in China, and that tariffs could lead to higher consumer prices, supply chain disruptions, and job losses in the US. Since then, Nintendo has moved some of its production to Vietnam and Cambodia, and Sony has also raised console prices in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, citing exchange rates and rising prices. This trend ultimately shows the structure in which the global manufacturing base is concentrated in China, and the high tariffs in the US are directly passed on to consumer prices. Even if the price of a single game console is increased, there is a complex background of international politics, trade policy, and supply chain strategy behind it.
The trade war between the US and China is no longer news, now that it is being felt in the prices of the game consoles in our hands. What choices will consumers make in the future?